Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 74 of the Podcana podcast. This week's headlines, we're going to be discussing some spoilers from set 6. Over the past weekend, of course, it was still set champs, so I hope you guys have been enjoying attending your local set champs, getting those Mirabelles and playmats. Myself, unfortunately, have not been able to attend too many set champs this set. I've been really busy with doing many other events. I've been prepping for a very big one this weekend. The Lorca quest is coming up in Paris this weekend, which is going to be at least 1,000 plus players so far competing. So if you guys are, going to be attending DLC Seattle, this is a tournament I would highly recommend keeping your eye on over the weekend. And of course, in next week's episode of the podcast, we'll be discussing the deck lists and meta breakdown from that event. Moin, how has your time in Lorcana been? Have you been playing any set champs recently?
I didn't really prioritize set champs as much. I just valued my time a lot more, just practicing myself, but also coaching a lot. So yeah, it's sometimes people think, oh, Seattle is like, what's it now? It's like it's almost 2 weeks away. That's a lot of time, but especially for figuring out a deck maybe you haven't played so much, or figuring out something new, that is actually very limited amount of time. And I think just even a few weeks before the event, you should already kind of only have to figure out like the last few details, as figuring out something completely new like just takes a lot of time.
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, that's going to be the main topic that we're discussing. We're going to pretty much go through all of the set 6 spoilers, since there aren't that many out at the moment, but I think myself and Moyne can fly through them, give you guys a good analysis of the ones that are out so far. But before that, we do have the Spilled Ink section. This is the listener question section. If you guys want to have your questions read out on next week's episode of the podcast, be sure to leave a comment down below. The first one is from Maho Basil. They say, fantastic pod, fellas. Love seeing the full crew back together. Unfortunately, Brendan is missing this week. He has some things, and time zones have actually got a little bit more difficult for us right now, because Brendan's moved to the West Coast. So he's dealing with 2 Europeans, and it's like 8 hours difference between myself and Brendan, and 9 hour difference between Moyne and Brendan. So that's definitely a little bit tricky to work around. But we're planning to get that fixed up over time, get a proper schedule, so you can be used to seeing the 3 of us here. But yeah, they say love seeing the full crew back together, digging the mustaches, and digging the success of each of you. Everyone's got some wins. Brendan is an official caster, and a very analytical and engaging one at that. Moyne has some highly competitive event tops under his belt, and is highly respected across the globe as a top player. And Kawa has some recent wins, and is casting now too, as well as some level of posting capability and confidence. Happy for you all. Keep it up, dudes. I just wanted to include this comment because that means a lot. Thank you very much for the kind words. It's really nice to hear this, and it is actually kind of true as well. I feel like one of my favorite things about the podcast is I feel like we all have kind of our own kind of focus points, and we've all kind of achieved something, both like collaboratively but also individually within the Lorcana scene. And I'm excited to see what we can do in the future. I like the comment about Moyne being getting some high tops, and is highly respected across the globe as a top player. Right now, he is the top player. If you guys want to vote on the NA versus EU big creator match, player match, whatever you want to call it, we'll leave a link to that down below in the description. So Moyne's number 1. You know what? Moyne,
am I number 1?
Yes, you are number 1. I still think you're second to Zan. So
yeah, I'm not number 2 then.
Yeah, but you're number 1 in EU, best player EU. No.
Okay, I guess I'm winning the contest from popularity and like a mix of more popularity and skill. But actually, I'm only 8 votes behind Sam, so maybe we can.
Come on, Podcana crew, help us out here, please. Link in the description. And if you want to help me, not that I honestly don't mind too much, because I remember I was actually talking to Spessy about this a few days ago. So Spessy's in 8th right now, and I'm a 9th. So I'm literally gonna bubble out. I'm gonna miss the top cut of this tournament. But honestly, for me, if you guys want to vote, you can vote. But I honestly don't mind too much. I would love to see Moyne get over Zan. I love Zan. I actually had Zan on the channel a few months ago, a few sets ago actually. But Come on, Moyen number one, guys. Do it for Moyen, for the Moistache.
Okay, I would love to have the number one, but I think it's more important that you get in on 8, so I get to play with you.
Oh yeah. We need the 2 Podcana. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie though. Even if I didn't get in, the EU roster is looking kind of stacked. We've got one DLC winner. We have you. We've got Artebacks. We've got like Frank Karsten. We have some absolute bangers.
Right. But, you could argue so does NA. I think.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I'm not downplaying NA. Trust me. Yeah. And I'm. If I do make it into this, I am terrified. I'm not gonna lie. I am scared to play some of these players because they are very, very good.
Yeah, it's like it's easy to downplay like NA as a whole as a region, but the top 8 voted players right now, they seem kind of scary.
They're very good, very, very good players. But either way, if I make it, if I don't make it, I'm excited to watch you crush all of them, Moyen.
Yeah. But just I think the comment was probably one of the comments that was like the most wholesome comments I read that really managed to put a smile on my face.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when we, because so it's definitely good to see how far we've gotten and that everyone also is like successfully individually.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, okay, and this probably sounds completely wrong, but to me it was kind of when we started the podcast or when I joined the podcast, like so almost a year ago now.
Yep.
I kind of like saw that coming. If the game does well, we'll probably all find our way to do well within the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm of course still happy it turned out that way.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is like we're talking about our achievements and stuff, but like all of this still wouldn't be possible without you guys. I'm sure we still would have competed, we would have played and stuff like that, but we wouldn't have had this. We probably wouldn't have continued to do this platform if we didn't have the passion, being able to chat about the game week to week, even if there are maybe some dry spells here or there. It keeps us motivated. It keeps us wanting to perform, and it keeps us wanting to put out this great content for you guys, because through us doing this content, we're also still learning about the meta, having these discussions. So yeah, I mean, every time we do the podcast, I genuinely enjoy it. I want to be here. I want to talk about the game. You know what I mean? Which is sick. The next comment is from GT Glenn. They say, totally agree with the comments on set champs, and ultimately they become your local champs, which essentially provide a bit of recognition for the best players at your local gaming store, whilst being casual enough to be welcoming to anyone who plays League and wants something a little more competitive once a quarter. Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that, and we talked about this last week, but I do think this is the direction that set champs are going in, and probably the direction that Ravensburger wants them to go in. They're like the highest level for local players to compete in, but they also want it to be as rewarding as possible to local players as well. Even players that, again, this may be their first TCG, it's their first time kind of competing. It gives them a good experience, kind of getting, dipping their toes into that world, if you will. The one thing that we did mention last week, again, I will reiterate, if anyone from Ravensburger does happen to listen to our podcast, I really would love to see the possible foil and non-foil split. Once you hit top 8, everyone gets a non-foil card. Top 4, it's the foil cards, and then the top 2 is the playmats, because it just gives people a little bit more incentive for something to play for and excitement and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people within the community, this hasn't just been a discussion we've had in the podcast, I've seen this in quite a few places. I think it would be quite a positive change. And it would just really feel like, once you get into the top 8 and the top 4, each of those matches really feels like it's kind of worth something. And I don't think I saw this comment, and I don't think I included it in our notes here, but there was an interesting comment that I saw someone make where they were saying, like, obviously they kind of recognize that maybe set champs isn't as competitive as it was before, because maybe obviously with over time the pricing has gone a little bit down, so maybe that's a big factor why people aren't competing as much. But they were saying they would still love to see the high level competitive players attend the events, because, and I do agree with this to some extent, that like if the highest competitive skilled players are still playing set champs, even if the stakes aren't as high, it still gives the like other players at locals, like basically what the commenter was saying was they wanted to like really feel the level of competition to the best of their abilities. Like they don't want to be like, okay, well, I can only play this level of player at a DLC because they just don't want to go to a set champs, or it's not not worth their time and stuff like that. And I kind of understand it. Like, to be honest, if I didn't have as much stuff just genuinely going on as I do now, I probably would just be playing in some more local set champs myself. But it's a fine balance of time and stuff like that. So yeah, like set champs for me personally, I view it in the stance that if I have the time to do it, I kind of viewed it the same as locals at one stage. If I have the time to do it, not much is going on the weekend, and I want to play some card games with my local friends, I'll go in and I'll play set champs. But I think my mentality for set champs is still the same as it is for a general locals, rather than a kind of tournament setting at the moment, at least. But that's just kind of always been my mentality for set champs, and not that's always been my mentality for kind of the local scene, because like I said, it's just a management of time, balance and time. And I think, you know, when they're spread out over a month, it's nice because you can maybe guarantee, right, you know, there's this one weekend where I'm not really doing much. I'll go to one or I'll go to two and I'll get to, attend at least a few of them. But would you say your perspective is like maybe a little bit similar, Moyne, if you don't really have too much going on? Or are you, and by the way, I'm going to say there's nothing wrong with this. Like, if you're a player that says, no, I want to compete to try and really win something, and, you know, like, it's if it's worth something or whatever, like, that's just actually going to be a thing within the card game community. And I don't, dunk on, oh, people are only going to go to tournaments to win stuff, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I mean, it just happens. Like, I don't want to dunk on anyone for doing that, you know?
Yeah, so right now I don't really see myself going to a set champs, but if I was to go to one, it would just be like basically purely for the fun of it. If I have like time and like, why not? I might enjoy it. Whereas before, it was. I mean, it still wasn't the most competitive tournament. It's just the pricing was a lot better, so you just kind of got to go there and reap the rewards. So yeah, I think all of that's fine. What I do really like is from some players I've heard now, also from some of the like more competitive players, now they, or even less competitive players, right? Now they go to these set champs and they don't even feel the need to bring the deck that they're most comfortable on. They don't feel the need to bring the deck that they think they would do the best with, but maybe instead they try out new stuff at set champs because the pressure is much lower. There's not too much on the line. Or even for like the more competitive players, they just set themselves some challenges. They're like, okay, I will try to win a set champs playing brooms, or like I will try to win a set champs, and then every time I win a set champs, maybe I switch the deck, so I just like do it with a few different decks. So there is a lot less pressure on it, which enables you to do like have fun in some different ways, and I don't have a problem with that. I think it's very normal that these are like not the pinnacle of competitive play. They're like the pinnacle of the local play, and so they're more competitive than like your every week locals. But they don't have to. They don't. With the pricing they had before, they really were kind of like almost a competitive event pricing wise. I don't think they have to be that. I think it's fine that they will no longer be that, at least for now.
Yeah, I think that's really true though. That I agree. I've seen a lot of people say that, like, I'm gonna try this deck at this set chaps, or this deck or this deck, and that's really, really fun. Like I said, yeah, you get to experiment with different types of decks. More so than I feel like the previous ones, it was like, I've got to bring my meta deck. I've got to win this. You know what I mean? So, yeah. The next comment is from Soulful Nick. They say, I'm growing my mustache out for Seattle in hopes Moyne and I have a stash off in Top Cut. I would love to see that. Yeah, the
stash off? Is it
the final game, Moyne, that you have to get into day 2. Your opponent just looks you in the eye, stares you down, and then the moment you realize they have a better, you both start doing this as you're playing. You just go, yeah. The next comment is from Yavon 6761. Appreciate the content, and honestly, if you asked me last year that this game could sell out a 2,000 man event within the first year, I would have called you too optimistic. Yeah, I don't think we breezed over the fact that, these DLCs literally quadrupled the attendance, but now that we're kind of getting towards the end of them, it is crazy to think how much in demand like they were, and how much people want to play the game competitively, which is a great thing to see. Like, this is going to be the first, the first year of the full competitive play. We'll have the challenges, and then we'll have the championships, and then we'll have the World Championships. But honestly, we know all of this is kind of coming. We know this is going to be a really big build-up. The World Championship is going to be super, super cool. But I am really excited to kind of find out more about, next season, if you will, and future changes or future improvements. Will there be more challenges? Will the challenges be bigger? What are the logistics of that going to be like? But I mean, go ahead.
Just especially because they've made a lot of so they listened to feedback a lot, but also they did a lot of really bold choices that were like they tried to do things differently and in their own way. And I think lots of that had its advantages, disadvantages, which we've talked about a lot. I'm just what I'm trying to say is I'm curious to see for the next, let's say, season, what are they going to change, if they change anything significantly in like the tournament system. So that's something I'm really, really interested about.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last one we have here is from traders within their Discord. They say, so I'm going to Seattle and I'm wondering what the record is I'm shooting for to make day 2. 5 wins, 0 losses, 4 ties. Hypothetically, they're tagging mine here. If I started 5 wins, what should I do from there? Do I keep playing every round or ID after a certain point? Also, what is the correct way to intentionally split? How do players determine who wins which game? We'll take it in steps because there's a few different things here. But yeah, I mean, these are important questions to ask. Honestly, we do mention it a lot to say, there are specific ways that you have to approach these situations. But if you were in this person's situation, you're 5 wins deep. Would you just start IDing with everyone? Would you be playing maybe 1 or 2 games to try get to the top seed, right?
Yeah. Okay, so it's a very interesting question. If you have 5 wins and you do manage to ID the next 4 rounds, which isn't a given because not all of your opponents might be wanting to ID, and then what if you ID a few times and then you face someone that doesn't want to ID, even if that's not super common, that could it could still, there's still some risk in IDing. And the other thing is, if you go 504, that's 47 points, and it's the most common score in Top Cut, which means also it depends on your tiebreaker, but usually your seed isn't great on 47 points.
It's usually on the lower side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that you could even be top 32 if you have like very good tiebreakers on 504, but generally 504 is you would be struggling to really go first a lot on day 2. And the biggest difference is, or the biggest reason why I would on 5-0 I would definitely try to gain that 1 more win, is that even a single more point, even 48 points in comparison to 47, is a huge difference in your seeding. So as soon as you win your 6th round, if you didn't lose until then, you can just ID the rest of the rounds, and then you're like very, very high seed. Or okay, the biggest risk is now maybe 504 top cut, or 5 wins wanting to ID 4 times. Your top cut is almost guaranteed. And if you do ID 4 times, it is actually guaranteed. But so the risk is, okay, maybe you lose, and then maybe in the end you don't even make top cut at all. And I think running that risk is fine, because if you get there with a higher seed, your chances to get now also the Rapunzel, the Met, the qualification, the Mickeys, all of those go up. So in generally EV wise, that just makes sense. Of course, if you have never made top cut, you really want your first top cut. Maybe you value making top cut a little bit more, but in general, I think not IDing is the higher EV play on 5-0. And even if you lose 1 round, now so let's say you're 5, so okay, you play out, now you lose your 6th round, and now you're 5 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties. At this spot, if you manage to get a single win, you can still ID out the rest.
And then you're on 48 points, which is exactly what you said. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And then you're 48 points. And if you get the 6th win before you got your first loss, then you're very, very high seed. But even on 48 points, that's a very good seed. And I think that's just worth playing for. what's very interesting is like, okay, but let's say you try to get the win, but you don't. So then now you're 5 wins, 0 losses, 1 draw. Okay, I think at that point I would still probably try to do it. But okay, then you have 5 wins, 2 draws. At some point, you no longer have this opportunity to say, okay, if I lose, I just have to win one of the next 3 rounds, because you're running out of time and rounds to actually really get back into the top cut. So I think at like 502, I'm not quite sure what I would do. Maybe I would consider splitting. And I think at 503, I would probably split the last round just to make sure.
Mhm.
Because if you lost, you wouldn't have a chance to just redeem yourself. That's my perspective on it, right? It's if there's a bunch of ones left, I'm not splitting. If it's like one of the last few chances, or if I lose, I'm out. At that point, I would likely just say, okay, I'll take the top cut, even if it's lower seed. I will. It's not like it's impossible to win a best of 3 when you go second twice. It's just first chances. So that's how I would generally go about it. Does your perspective differ from that? Would you consider IDing early, or how would you go
No,
about it?
I think I'm pretty much on about this. It would really kind of depend, because I think once you're on the 5 wins, like you said, if you want to play it like super safe to guarantee that you're gonna make it in, and then if you're like you said, if your goal is to make a day 2, then basically IDing when you're on 5 wins is the strat. Like, you just do it and you'll be in. You'll be in, which is fine. But then if you really want to, like, it's difficult, because it's like, okay, do I want to take a potential big risk to like up my chances even higher to get the higher seeding? That's something that you probably just have to ask yourself and consider. But I do think I agree with you in the sense that if you do want to take that risk, I think you should be doing it within the round 6 to, you know, play the game out, try get the win, because then if you get the loss, then you know you really have to get a win and then do the other ID. But I think it's worse to say, right, I'll go like 5 wins, ID, especially if you go 3 IDs. The last person is gonna want to ID with you, and you're gonna be like, no, I want to play. Like, that's I don't know about that, but I do think, right, like you're saying there, Moin, if you're on 5 wins, the person across from you should recognize that, you know, starting to ID from this point onwards would at least guarantee them. But then also, if they don't ID with you, you can also understand the reason why, because they're fighting for the higher seed. So it's just important to keep those things in mind. By the way, as we're talking about this, just, you know, there will be people that go 5-0, but my God, it ain't easy. It ain't easy to go 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0.
Yeah,
So if you've
win
done that
10
already,
games in a row.
yeah, if you've done that already, congrats to you, because that's a huge achievement, you
Yes.
know?
And also that means your opponent is likely going to be at least a decent player, because they've also won 10 games in a row.
Yep.
Yeah, even on the final round, it's like I think on the final round I would just split, but even on the final round, playing it out is also an option that I could understand, because if you win, you're much higher seed.
Yeah.
If you end up drawing, which is usually the most likely scenario,
Okay,
it's the
yeah.
same as if you would have ID'd. So it's only really if you play and you get 2 out.
Okay, so do you think you'd do it on the round 6 or on the round 9? Like, which are you more likely to do to play it out, do you think?
Okay, so I think round 6 and 7 I would basically always play it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then round 9 I would probably ID. And round 8 I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so the other half of the question was, or the first part of the question was, what's the correct way to split, and how to play it to determine who wins which game. So splitting is completely legal. You just ask your opponent, do you want to split? And yeah, that's completely fine. I think determining who wins which game, I haven't actually split a round yet. I would assume you just ask the judge how to go about it, and they might make you randomize it. I'm not quite sure, but I would just ask the judge.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, I know on Melee they have like the ID button, but I'm curious, like you said, yeah, like if you press the ID button, surely it still has to allocate who wins game 1, who gives. Yeah, so yeah, ask a judge how is that determined, because because you might care about it, because, like, again, this goes into deep tiebreakers, but it's usually, correct me if I'm wrong, Moin, the person who wins the second game has better tiebreakers.
Yes, but it's largely irrelevant
Yes.
as like opponent's match win percentage type thing comes before that. Yeah, so I don't really trust the ID button. I've heard some stories about how it can work when no one gets the points. So it's
Interesting.
just always do it like everyone gets one game. And I guess you ask the judge who wins which game, and there's like this like ultra slight advantage if you win game 2, but it's so small I wouldn't even care about it. It's like, I don't care which game I'm getting.
Unless Moyen gets 65th and then finds out that's the reason why. Yeah.
Actually, last weekend I played a tournament of another game where I also bubbled out on like one place behind top cut again. So it's now 2 tournaments in a row.
So let's not do 3 times the charm. Yeah, let's not do 3 times the charm in Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah, you know how you said I took it pretty well, and I think I did. But like if it's 2 consecutive times, I'm already starting to get quite upset. So it has to stop at some point.
Yeah, I think at that stage, like I don't know, like you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like you'd rather get like 80th or 100th rather than
get last place.
Yeah. The other part that they say here is they just say, also be curious as to your guys' take on which deck I should run. My buddy's on red blue, which leaves me with the options of Ruby Amethyst, Steel Song, and Green Steel. What would you say the pros and cons are each of those 3? Lovely listening to the pod, guys. Keep up the good work and hope to run into you guys in Seattle. So I mean, this is a very big question in my opinion. You like and it's fair, but like pretty much just asking. I'm sure there's a question that many people on the podcast were like, oh, I'm going to Seattle, what deck should I play? It's a very big question to ask, you know what I mean? But it all depends on personal preferences, stuff like that. I do think red blue is a very, very strong pick personally. I think you should
they didn't even ask about red blue as one of their options.
Well, yeah, they didn't ask about red blue as one of their options, but they said their buddies on red blue, which is clear that there's going to be a lot of red blue, you know what I mean? Okay, Moyen, if you couldn't play red blue, what would you play out of it? Yeah.
Okay, so I think the best deck
is red blue.
It might even be green steel.
You think it's green? You think? Wow. Okay. Interesting.
So I mean, green steel against red blue is still kind of a close matchup. I'm just thinking why green steel overall might be the better deck is just it doesn't have that weakness against like these random aggro decks. It doesn't have that weakness against red purple. So it doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses. It's just not really a deck I enjoy a lot.
It's fair.
So maybe I would play Sapphire Steel, the no real Sapphire Steel school. I think that deck's actually quite decent.
Really? I don't know if Moyen's trying to bait this poor person into playing a bad deck.
I mean that they didn't ask about Sapphire Steel either. If their buddy's playing red blue, that means they can play Sapphire Steel. It's just what I would be playing.
Well, they can play Sapphire, yeah, because they're playing red blue, so they can't play blue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit like this guy's buddy. This guy's in the same
position as me. Big time. Yeah, big time.
Wait, actually. But
do you know what deck they could play, Moyen, that they haven't mentioned here? They could play
Ruby Amethyst, so that is.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, they could play my beloved green yellow. You could. Okay, this is a big. Sorry to interrupt quickly. And this is a question I've had a few people reach out to me for recently, and I haven't really answered it. And I'd love to get your opinion on it because, I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of green yellow players, but a lot of people are saying, I'm thinking of bringing green yellow to Seattle. I'm expecting to see a lot of green steel. People are like, is there any changes, any alterations that you would add for this matchup in particular? I've thought about it for a while, and I've thought about it, and no, there's not nothing. It's just like I feel like when it comes to thinking about these things, I will admit I'm not the best person because I'm very, very locked into why I like certain things there. So like the only flexible thing that I like in my deck right now is I've got a 2-song slot that I can kind of change and like maybe either up or down on like some crickies. Like, but I think in general, I've said this so many times, I think the green yellow deck is like such a core 52 to 54 card package in my opinion. But I think if you're really expecting lots of green steel, like in my opinion, a card that you could consider swapping for something else is probably the Sir Hiss out. Because if it's literally just so much green steel, sure, Sir Hiss can deal with the possible Diablo, can deal with the possible Ursula, but it just gets hit by all of this damage removal so easily. For me personally, I think Sir Hiss is so good in every other matchup that I would just ink it rather than cut it completely. But like You could consider playing the one for Ursula, the Amber one, because maybe it survives into this a little bit better, stuff like that. But yeah, like that's why I'd love to like pick your brain. You think there's anything off the top of your head? Again, I know you haven't really looked much into it and stuff, but I unfortunately, in my opinion, I don't think there's too much that the deck could fundamentally change to tackle. Like the only thing is maybe you want to play some type of like just action cards instead, so that the Ursula isn't as bad. But the Ursula's still gonna hit your songs no matter what, even if you play some more action cards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the action cards then, like, they can still get disrupted by the Pete. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
the deck doesn't have all that many tech slots, and I don't think that the color combination has a lot of stuff available that they could be playing that's better against Emerald Steel. I think maybe the switch of the 2-drop is like one thing you could consider, but even then, like, even if Emerald Steel is now going to be more popular, what's it going to be? Maybe 15 to 20%? Something around that could make sense. There's still all the other matchups where Sir Hiss is great.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why whenever anyone says like, "Oh, I'm not really feeling the Sir Hiss," I'm like, "But he's so good in all of these other matchups. Against Red Blue, he's insane. Against Ruby Amethyst, he's insane. Against Amber Steel, I just ink him all the time, and that's fine. That is fine. You know what I mean?"
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way too much. But that is definitely something where, like, Amber Emerald is still very much on my radar, but the Emerald Steel, the emergence of Emerald Steel has kind of put me a little bit further away from trying Amber Emerald because I don't love that matchup.
It's a better deck in my opinion. I'll give you my honest opinion. Like I think the Green Steel deck is a better deck than the Amber Emerald deck, and I think that
I would enjoy the Amber Emerald more though.
Oh yeah, it's a much more fun deck for sure. But I think the matchup in general, I played one of them as set champs, which actually went to a tie. And again, it's a close matchup, but in my opinion, I think Green Steel is favored the same way that I still think Amber Steel is favored into Green Yellow, but I think that matchup is way closer. I play that matchup so much now that I really feel. I think it just took me play testing a lot of games against that color combination to actually feel confident enough in the matchup. But against Green Steel, I don't know if I would feel the same way. I think if you had your heart set on playing Amber Emerald, I would recommend like test against Green Steel a lot, because I think for me personally, I know how the deck plays into all of these other matchups, but against Green Steel in particular, if you're really focused, it's what I did against Amber Steel. It's like play it a lot. If you still think it's in favor, just know how you plan to win the game. Know how you can tackle, the Diablo. Know how you can tackle the 3-cost Ursula. But it's something that's really difficult, because anytime you have this kind of mirror match of, Diablos and Johns, and this can happen in the Green Steel versus Green Steel mirror match, and it can be absolutely awful. Let's say, you play your, Prince John, and your opponent has a Diablo out on board. They exert their Diablo, and you want to do some discard stuff with John so you can draw some cards. Well, sure, if you discard, let's say you do an Ursula Sudden Chill, you make them discard 2 cards, you draw 2 cards with your John, their Diablo draws 2 cards. And it's just like, well, I've just discarded 2 of your cards to make you draw 2 cards. And I absolutely despise that interaction in the mirror match. Like, it literally throws me off so bad that I'm like, okay, like, do I just not draw with my John? But then you're going to be drawing with your Diablo anyway. I still need to draw my cards. And it's something that's just been, it's really tricky to get over myself. So, yeah, be prepared for that. If you're expecting a lot of Green Steel and you're running that deck yourself, that will occur within the mirror match, maybe a little bit more than you expected, and it's not the nicest situation to be in.
Yeah, just again, this is a huge question to ask, but just to come back to if Ruby Amethyst, Steel Song, Green Steel are your options, I guess biggest pro of Ruby Amethyst is your Red Blue matchup. It's the only non-hyper aggro deck that is probably still favored into Red Blue, and then Green Steel is just a deck with very little weaknesses, where that used to be Ruby Amethyst. I think Ruby Amethyst does have weaknesses now against Steel Song, Green Steels. There's a lot of matchups where I would say it's slightly unfavored, and not all that many matchups where it is actually favored. So Green Steel is just very well versed against lots of things in the meta. Maybe one of the cons would be it is quite dependent on its draws. You need to mulligan very well to really maximize the chances of you doing unfair things. Either that would be turn to Diablo or turn to Diablo no Cove, or maybe in some matchups you can also hedge and try to go for the turn 3 morph into Beast. Steel Song, to me, I can't find too many pros for it, because one of the biggest pros for playing Steel Song would often be it beats like all these different Emerald decks. But I think the Emerald decks, they've gotten quite a bit better, and with their disruptancy towards for the Holy World, and Red Blue just staying very popular in a deck that beats it. I can't find, it doesn't mean it's a bad deck, but I can't find too many reasons why I would really want to be bringing Steel Song. But both Green Steel and Ruby Amethyst are definitely good options to bring.
The Steel Song stuff is always still interesting to me, because I think if you really want to optimize your matchups against a lot of these Emerald decks, you have to be playing these AoE cards like swords and stuff. But then naturally, like, that makes your matchup. I think it does make it significantly worse into the stuff like red, blue, and stuff, and that's just a tricky decision to make. But I'm like, again, I think maybe if you have your heart set on Steel Song, you like really need to consider that there will be a lot of these Emerald decks, and it may be like a tool you might need to have. But it's such a tough decision, right? Because like, it's all based on your matchup spread, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, really tough. But I've just seen so many Steel Songs cut it, and I understand the reason why they're cutting their AoEs. I'm not saying it's a bad decision. Like, I think overall it makes the deck maybe a bit more consistent, that you just have like better cards in general. And then even if you have the AoE, then sometimes the Emerald decks can just snipe it out of your hand anyways, which sucks, right? It's like, oh, I put this card in to tech against this matchup. Oops, it's gone. You know, like that can definitely suck. But yeah, it's definitely a big question to ask. But thanks for the comment, and thanks for allowing us to have the discussion around it. We'll be talking about this a lot more next week in general, I think, with the lead up to Seattle with Brendan. We'll see general results from this big tournament taking place in Paris this weekend. So, not that we're necessarily going to circle back to this question specifically, but we'll definitely be circling back to, you know, meta predictions, stuff like that. So without further ado, well, yeah, again, by the way, if you guys want to have your questions read out, just leave a comment down below, and also leave a comment on Discord, because mine's been very good at grabbing some great topics. This comment, like I said, was left in the Discord, not on YouTube, and it probably was the biggest thing that we discussed right now, which is great. But right now we're going to jump into the set 6 spoilers. So let me see if I can get this up right now. Hopefully this works. Yes, it's on the screen. Nice. So Moyen, if you are with me right now, we're going to start with Chip with an Amber. So Chip is a 3-cost inkable 3/3 quest for 1 Storyborn hero with the ability Dale's Partner. When you play this character, chosen character gets +1 lore this turn. So what card does this remind you of, Moyen? It's a very similar card, right?
Wait, we had the 3/3 chip that gives 1 lore?
Yes.
Just the Donald Duck Bodyguard?
Yeah, that's the one.
It's the same type of effect, but it's a 2/3 Bodyguard, and think probably I would often prefer a little bit worse of a stat line, but with the Bodyguard keyword. But in general, this type of card, it's like a fine card. It can give some, like, this immediate lore gain, even if it requires you to be able to quest with something and developing a character on the same time, is still a powerful effect.
Yep, solid card. Next one we have is Dale. Wait, this is Dale and Dale. Oh, it's Chip and then Dale, yeah. So 3-cost inkable 3/4 quest for 2. This character enters play exerted unless you have a character named Chip in play. So this is very similar to Sleepy from set 2. Sleepy was a 2-cost 2/3. That quest for 2 that entered play exerted. Except this just has not an even bigger upside, but it's a better card overall, because you have this condition that if Chip happens to be on the board, then it doesn't come into play exerted. But I don't know. I think naturally Chip and Dale, these 2 Amber cards, probably just fit into this kind of aggro package in general, or do you think they could find a place in like other types of decks?
No, they would definitely need like something like an aggressive shell. For Dale, I know Sleepy was never like a great card, but 3/4 is much harder to actually like value trade. So
yeah, unless it's specifically Fox, right? Because Fox
Yeah,
is just so insane, right?
Yeah, by value trade I mean like trading it and surviving.
And surviving it, sure.
So for that it will need something like a Maui, but I'm just saying maybe if this plays on 3, maybe it's not the end of the world that it comes into play exerted, because I can't see too many things really dealing with it super well.
Yeah.
Even the turn after it came down. So what's definitely good about this card is like you might not have to be forced into this like specific synergy with Chip. The card might just work without Chip.
Yep, for sure. All right, the next one that we have, this is card 10, Moin, if you want to scroll ahead. This is Prince Naveen, 2 cost, inkable, 2/3, quest for 1. Nothing to say about this card. Standard vanilla card. Possible for a cool Floodborn, maybe. But not too much else to say about that.
Not super.
Vanilla card, right? Yeah. Next we have Chief Bogo, 4 cost, inkable, 4/4, quest for 1. And Moin, do you want to do the honors and read out what this card does?
Sure. In German or English?
English would be best, my friend. Thank you.
Okay, it's why. Actually, I don't know what this is in English.
It's something to do with Gazelle and Singer 6, right?
So it is also Gazelle in English.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
So while you have a Gazelle in play, this character has Singer 6.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool, because if I'm not mistaken, I think Gazelle or Giselle or whoever you want to pronounce it, I think she's a 3 cost. She's
not just any Gazelle character.
Yeah, so but I think there's only one so far that has been revealed in this set, I think. No, wait, was the one in last? Maybe it was last set. I'm going to double check this.
I think we already have some.
I think it's last set, because I'm pretty sure she was singing at the Shimmering Skies thing.
Yeah, I guess this card. I love the Steel Chief Bogo. This Chief Bogo though. You know, there's also another 4-cost Amber card. I know it's not inkable, but Prince Naveen is also Singer 6, but quests for 2 with a 3/3 body.
Yeah.
And lets you immediately think something the turn you played.
It's true.
And
doesn't require body.
Only under the condition, right? And usually Singer 5 is sufficient, right? You don't generally need Singer 6. Maybe that changed. Maybe we had some like crazy 6-cost songs, but that being said, as long as the ability to sing 5-count songs is what's important, even just the 3/3 Gaston that's always Singer 5 is like much better than a Chief Bogo would be.
That's fair. Next we've got another chip, 4-cost, inkable, 3/4, quest for 2. While you have a character named Dale in play, this character gains support. I found support to always be such a cool keyword in sealed and draft more than anything. I don't know about you, but like I don't know, like I want to see my problem with support has always been, we talked about this before, it's like it's always been that support's so reliant on having such a board based deck and blah blah blah, and I just think for the most part, like competitive play for all of the sets that we've seen so far, there just hasn't been a slot for this effect. Right, I haven't found it to be like good enough so far. Would you agree with that, or do you think there's like?
Yeah, no. It's the thing is, I think support is like a need, but also a niche type of effect. I think it's fine that it doesn't come up all the time. The problem is a lot of cards that are printed with support, they have lackluster stats to make up for the fact that they have this keyword. Where I think maybe we could see some like. The vanilla stat, it could be like more like a vanilla stat, and it does like maybe a little bit of a better stat line, or a card that's good anyways, but then also has support to make up for these like niche situations. I've tried some cheaters in like Sapphire Steel, for example, and it's really fun to just that like every 5th game sometimes use the support ability of cheater.
But but also the reason you play cheater is not for the support, right?
Yeah, I know. That's what I meant. Like on those cards where they're good anyways, I think support is neat. It's just if support is all
the card's doing,
that
right?
makes that could make the card good. Because otherwise a 4-cost 3/4 quest for 2 isn't great. I think then the support doesn't really make up for the fact that we're playing a 4-cost 3/4 quest for 2.
Yeah, for sure. The next card that we have is, this is very small for some reason on the screen right now, but I'll read it out for the viewers. It's Chip and Dale. It's 8 cost and inkable, 6/6, quest for 3. With Shift
Mhm.
5, this character counts as being named both Chip and Dale. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may return a character card from your discard to your hand. I remember Kim saw this for the first time and she was like, "It's finally happening, yellow blue." I was like, wait a second. But interesting card. I do think, like, obviously reading the effect of this card, I think if yellow blue ever did become a color combination, this is definitely a card. This is a value card within that deck, right?
Yeah, and it fits that deck so well because you need a lot of ink to play a Chip and Dale. If you can ink multiple times a turn, you can like take multiple characters a turn back. That being said, I guess it costing 8 is a lot. 8 uninkable. That's as much as like a Mufasa. You can shift it on either Chip or Dale. But I don't know if its impact, like its impact is still kind of its value, right? Because the only uninkable Shift 5 card that's this expensive or almost this expensive, that's like that one's inkable too, right? If I just compare this to Cinderella, that's also Shift 5, but it's so impactful.
And it's also 7 cost, not 8 cost, right?
Yeah, it's cost 1 less, it's inkable. But even so, it's kind of like more impactful in a different way. But
yeah, this is just I think this is just a giga value card, and maybe with a few sets we'll see some cool stuff with this. But for the moment, I just don't think. I mean, I say for the moment, like we haven't seen too many cards within the set. But,
right. Yeah. I like that it's pushing for a color combination that's like hasn't
pretty
been
dead.
seen played in a long time.
Yeah.
Like set 1, sometimes people play that color combination, but
yeah.
I was like the last time I've seen Ember Sapphire.
The next card that we have is Judy Hopps, 6 cost, inkable, 3/6 quest for 2 support, but also another ability. At the end of your turn, you may ready another chosen character of yours. So this acts as kind of a protection character. Before everyone in the comments says that, I'm going to say it first. Dies to Medusa. But, you know, if we say that about every card, we just can't speak about what the card actually does. But I feel like this card, in my opinion, I think this card is a better Christopher Robin. If I'm not mistaken, Christopher Robin was 6 cost, 2/6 quest for 2. And it did something about readying certain characters. So I think for the most part, this is a better card, but Moin, you can read it out and prove me wrong.
Yeah, Christopher Robin was 6 ink, was a 2/6, and it said whenever you ready this character, if you have a 2 more characters in play, gain 2 lore. So
okay, that's a very different card. Yeah, I don't remember that card properly.
Yeah, but usually if we like, compare it to a card we barely remember, that card probably wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think that's what I'm getting at, to be honest. Yeah. So the next card number 18, another Dale, 4 cost, inkable, 3/4 quest for 1. When you play this character, you may put the top 3 cards of your deck into your discard to give chosen character -3 attack until the start of your next turn. So a self-mill deck. I don't know what to think. What to think about this, to be honest.
Yeah, by putting cards into your discard, probably good. It does multiple things.
Yeah, it does.
But it's it doesn't really, like, having a less cards in your deck. It's not really a concern, so it's not really a big cost. It's maybe even an extra benefit on top of the effect. It's a 4 cost 3/4 quest for 1 is kind of the issue. But putting cards in your discard, it makes your churner book cheaper.
It does.
It refuels your revive.
It refuels, yeah, it gives you revive some value, am I right? You know what else? You know what else it does, Moyen? If you play Great Stone Dragon, it puts fuel into the discard for your Great Stone Dragon.
I can entertain the revive, but I can't entertain the
Great Stone Dragon. Alright, we're clicking forward a good bit here. The next one is Rabbit. This is a 1 cost, inkable, 1/2 quest for 1. When you play this character, you may remove up to 1 damage from chosen character. I think the most noteworthy thing about this is that it's a pirate, and maybe it will have some pirate synergy, which is cool. Cool art, actually. I think the art of this is pretty cool. And that's pretty much it, I think. Right?
Yeah, you can play it in Amber Sapphire with the heal deck.
Yeah, Grandpa. You know what? I think this podcast, we're just going to be talking up Amber Sapphire. And I can't wait for set 6 to come out and nobody to play it still. But
I can't wait for Kim's reaction.
oh yeah, no, she's gonna be very disappointed. We're gonna click forward again. We've got a Jim Hawkins here, 7 cost inkable, 4/7. Quest for 2 Bodyguard. This is a super rare card. It's also a pirate and a captain. With the ability Hire a Crew. When you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal any number of pirate characters, put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. If you can somehow make a deck that contains all pirates, this is basically play this card for 7, draw 4 cards. But I don't think we're there yet.
We have that many pirates.
No, I don't think we're there. We may have that many pirates, but I'm pretty sure we don't have that many pirates all in the same colors. But I mean, listen, this set could actually change that. If someone really wants to meme and play the all pirate deck, I'm sure they probably could with this set because it's all about, the sea and pirates and stuff.
Yeah. So this card could fit in either also a Sapphire deck where you get to a lot of ink and then like to have like this big value bomb. But also you could play it in something like a Mufasa deck actually, because it's another of these cards that you can cheat out. But it's a little bit like a Surfer Stitch, but it doesn't just draw 2, but maybe it gets you some card advantage, and it has more immediate impact as it's a bodyguard. And there's a lot of ways to set it up early. One of the most powerful cards in like Ruby Ember would be the Gaston that you can tap to make something cost 2 less. If you combine that either with a Pluto or a Lantern, maybe you can play like a turn 4 Jim Hawkins and immediately refill your hand into more of these big boys to drop. It's also a very good hit over Mufasa if that's what you're playing.
Yeah, and I think for the
a good card.
I think it is a good card. Yeah, and I think for the pirate count, is this the same logic? Like, does the logic change to the standard aerial? So aerial count is like what? You can correct me if I'm wrong. Like at least 16 plus, right? Usually,
Sure, yeah.
So for me,
even closer to 20, but
yeah, for me in my Amber Emerald list, I have 20. I'm very happy to have 20. Really nice number. It's the third of my deck. That's probably, especially for like, these are gonna be character cards rather than songs, so they should just be good. You want to have characters in your deck. So I think if you're aiming for 20, if you go over 20, this card suddenly becomes better. But I'm curious. Maybe we'll need Frank. Maybe we won't. Maybe I'm just being dumb. But does the math change? Does the math change depending because this is a lot higher cost than Aerial? Does that change anything, right?
The cost doesn't really change. It's just for Aerial, it's if you hit 1 or more, you gain 1. If you hit 0, you gain 0. So the implications of that are a lot different than a card that says draw every pirate or like every hit that you see. You actually draw.
Sure. Yeah, that's a big difference. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because now with Aerial, you play like 16ish, maybe up to 20 to make sure you have a good chance to see at least 1, but often you would see multiple. But it's with this, like, the sky is the limit, right? The more pirates you play, the more likely you are to actually draw more cards of this. It's just how good are the pirates, at what point are you happy with Jim Hawkins? How many cards does he need to draw you for you to think, okay, I'm happy I put this card in my deck that drew me 1 pirate or that drew me 2 pirates, and then you kind of have to consider how good are the pirates and how many can you really afford to put into the deck, because that's probably the big issue, right? I kind of hype the card up as if it's an easy feat to just have good pirates in your deck, and that
maybe we'll see. We'll see, right? We'll see. So we'll skip through the next. We're moving on to an Amber action, 2 cost inkable, rescue Rangers away. Count the number of characters you have in play. Chosen character loses strength equal to the number until the start of your next turn. I was joking with a member of Ravensburger UK to say, imagine this was a song. This would go straight into my Amber Emerald deck. If this was a song, Moin, this would be an insane card in my opinion.
Really? Choosing characters?
Yeah, I think it'd be really good.
Just to reduce strength?
Yeah, because then you start going crazy with muses, no? You got a few warded characters on the board, like with muses, and oh my god, I think this would be insane if it was a song, but it's not, so it's bad. No,
Yeah, no, without it being a song, it's definitely bad. It's just, even if it was a song, I guess I don't know how often you need to reduce the strength by that much, because like painting the Rose's Sweat does it
and draws a card.
Doesn't good enough while drawing a card. So it would really depend on how often you really need to
I'd consider
found
one or
something
two of
better.
on this in the deck, definitely. Like, I'd try it. I'd definitely try this card,
I
right?
would vote. I think
Yeah.
you would try it. I'm just maybe still wouldn't make it.
All right, and we'll skip through. We have an item card with an amber, 1 cost, uninkable, Poo Pirate Ship. Tap 3, pay 3 ink, return a pirate character card from your discard to your hand. Synergy! Synergy with the discard pirate deck. I mean,
Yeah.
like, this is interesting, but like, I don't know, like, the whole thing about this pirate deck is like, it seems like it's just a giga value deck, but like there has to be enough good pirates in the deck. If there's enough good pirates in the deck and the game actually goes long enough for you to like maybe get value out of it, then fine. But it's so hard to know without seeing a lot of the other context and a lot of the other pirates, to be honest.
Also, but often we are at a stage in Lorcana where value isn't enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can have all the value in the world in your hand and the value engine on the board, but it might just be too slow.
Yeah.
So the pirates also need to kind of be efficient in fighting for board. And get an item where, okay, I guess in set 1 we had the magic mirror 2-cost item,
yeah.
tap 4 to gain 1 card. And this is better than that, probably. No, it is better than that. But it's still very, very slow to get this
I think the
card.
only way we see this card in the meta, and again, this is very, very first impressions, but if there's like one absolutely insane pirate card that like when it dies, like we just want that we can't have enough of this insane pirate card that we just need more even when it dies.
Right, maybe a pirate that's like cost reduced depending on conditions. You just meet the conditions and you just bring it back.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we're gonna move on. We finally made it to Amethyst. We have a Hades card, 6 cost, uninkable, 3/4, quest for 3, and Moyen can read out this.
It says every time when one of your characters is banished on an opposing turn, you gain 2 law.
Okay, so it's like it's kind of like Lyle, except when one of your characters gets banished, but it's your opponent's turn, you gain 2 lore. Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so when they cannot remove this, okay, it's not that they lose lore, but you gain lore. It's just if you have a white board and then you play this, they kind of have to deal with the Hades first, because dealing with the other stuff, they would just.
Oh my god! Wait, doesn't this trigger the same way that Lyle does for B prep though? So if they B prep this, I'm pretty sure you're gonna gain loads of lore. Oh my god! It's the wait. There's no way people run like a 1-of in this against the B prep with a wide board. Imagine that sounds hilarious.
Good.
Oh my god!
We won't talk about Medusa.
Yeah, but, we'll forget about Medusa.
It's a good like. Usually, if you want to play one B prep, you have like hold cards in hand or play a location or play an item. But this is a character that also plays one B prep, so I like
this.
This
is interesting because this is a character that actually incentivizes you to. I'm not saying not care about B prep at all, but you can kind of do the maths to see how much of a position are you in. But like it's weird because like Medusa is a card, and when Medusa is a card, they'll just instantly snipe this. But if it's a situation,
then maybe they can't answer the rest.
Yeah, exactly. But like if it's a situation where they're like in top deck mode and you're like, okay, the B prep is the only thing, you just calculate you've got a wide enough board, you slap down the Hades. If they B prep, you still win the game. That's just kind of funny to me. So yeah, I think I initially looked at this card and like didn't even consider that, but after talking through it, it's quite interesting. All right, we're gonna click through some more. The next card we've got is Sisu, 5 cost, inkable, 3/6, quest for 2, Challenger 2. So this is basically, oh my god, what's the card? Cerberus from set 1.
Oh,
remember Cerberus? So yeah, it's like Maleficent. But no, Maleficent's better, right? Because Maleficent quest for 3, not 2.
Yeah, but it doesn't have Challenger +2.
Yeah, that's like saying Cerberus doesn't have the extra lore, right? Cerberus is only 1 lore. But this is also a deity and
it gets challenged.
And this is a deity and a dragon. Wow.
Yeah, so it dies to
Fang
gets
crossbow.
banished by Fang crossbow.
Yeah. So maybe it's not an advantage right now. Yeah. All right, we'll skip through some more. We've got Rafiki, 1 cost, inkable, 2/2, quest for 1. Nothing to see here. Probably a target for, I think we saw potential Floodborn. We'll probably see this now in a minute. We're clicking through a lot of cards here. We've got a very small Tinkerbell here on the screen. It is a 7 cost, inkable, 5/6, quest for 2 with shift 5, evasive, And whenever this character quests, your other fairy characters get +1 lore this turn. Moin, I know you're a fan of the 4-cost Emerald Tinkerbell, or at least you were back in your set 3 Emerald
Sure.
Amethyst deck, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I mean, in draft, four-cost Tinkerbell is also very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I think in draft, evasive cards are quite good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an evasive card that lets you like challenge an opposing evasive character that when you play it. So right now, I think we have like 13 fairy characters in combined from all of the
Okay, so that's definitely not enough right
all
now.
of the colors. Yeah, it would need quite a bit of support, and even then,
I think
it's a big evasive.
It's a big evasive, yeah. I think if you're shifting this, even if you're not necessarily getting the fairy character advantage, like this is a threat. This is a threat. Also, oh my god, I just realized all of the tags as well. This is a fairy captain.
It's a captain. Your Smee is not taking damage.
Your Smee is very happy about this. Yeah. That's wild. All right, we'll go to the next one here. Click through a few. We've got another tiny card, but this is the Floodborn Rafiki, 9-cost uninkable, 6/6 quest for 4, shift 7. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may draw a card. It's the Blurple synergy. Let's go.
The Blurple Jafar.
Yeah, maybe Blurple Jafar. Wow. I mean, you can also play that. What's that card? The second star to the right. You could play that in it as well. The one that 10-cost uninkable. Yeah. I don't know, like
but that's usually played in the Emerald Jafar, where you double sing it with the 3-cost
to draw 10 cards. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of think this card's interesting. The only problem is it's so expensive. The only deck you'd ever play this in is a ramp deck, hence why this effect is beneficial to being paired with blue.
And it's uninkable.
Yeah.
And it's like the shift really doesn't make it that much cheaper.
No, it doesn't.
It's still a shift 7.
Yeah, shift 7 is a lot. Next one we have is 4-cost uninkable 2/4 quest for 2. Dishini. Is that how you say it? Not genie, it's the Dishini.
No, you would still say genie.
Oh, you still say genie. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it has Wendig or Vendig.
Yeah. Okay, so it's 4-cost 2/4 quest for 2 evasive. When you play this character, draw a card.
Oh, draw a card. I thought it was gain a lore. No.
No.
Oh, Carta is definitely card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. I remember seeing this card a while ago when it was revealed. People were comparing it to Rabbit. Do you compare this card to Rabbit? Right? Yeah.
I mean, that's. I guess it's same ink cost, similar stat line.
Uninkable.
Both uninkable, both draw cards. So this you can't just bounce. This is not something you want to bounce. And even without bouncing it,
you can bounce it, and even only on play you get another card.
Yeah, but you don't want to spend a bounce and another for ink just to draw.
Yeah, I think you don't want to, like, if you're playing the bounce package, you don't sacrifice the rabbit to play this, you know.
Yeah, and even when, let's say a not bounced rabbit, let's compare that to the genie. The difference is one less card advantage when it gets banished, but you're already establishing a threat that's evasive and quest for 2. Yeah, I mean the 4 ink slot in any Amethyst deck is super contested, but this is still a fine card.
It's a good card, yeah. Could see play for sure. Now we've got the Yzma 4-cost inkable 3/3 quest for 2. Exert this card if you have fewer than 3 cards in your hand. Draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. So
another anti-discard tool like the Magicka.
Oh yeah. Actually, I didn't kind of consider it to be anti. Do you know what's so funny to me? The reason why when I initially looked at this card, why I didn't think it was anti-discard is because a lot of other card games they play, honestly, don't go as hard on as the discard package as this game. Like I look at a game like Hearthstone and I look at this card, and there is a card in Hearthstone that's like 2-cost 1/3. If you end your turn with, like, fewer than 3 cards, you just draw up 3 cards. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like, the aggro card that once you completely dump your hand, you top this, you get more cards back.
But, I mean, I guess that's still what it is, because if you can't just put a card in your deck, I mean, generally, you can't really put a card in your deck where it only works if they discard you, right? It would still also be in a deck that's trying to dump its own hand and like dump its hand, play this, draw 3, and then dump it again. But then it would also end up just being good against this card as well. But you would still have to play it in deck that wants to dump its own
I
hand.
think it's the fact that it's inkable though is quite good. Like I think it would be really bad if it was uninkable, but the fact that it's inkable makes the card like I don't know, like it could be. It's definitely a playable card. Like I don't think it's a bad card at all, right?
Yeah, it's just I guess the quest for 2. It's not something that synergizes with its effect when you want to have to tap it to like draw cards.
Yeah. The next one we've got is Mama Odie. This is 5 cost, uninkable, 4/5, quest for 1. I'm pretty sure that this is Italian, but I'm pretty sure this is something to do with it's the whole thing of like, you know, moving 2 damage counters from something that's damaged to another character. And I don't know if it's when you sing a song. It might be when you sing a song, but yeah. I remember seeing something like that.
So canzone is song.
Okay, yeah. So it's when you sing a song, you do basically the bell effect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is is it a worse spell? It's uninkable. It's got 1 extra health. Sure, this is repeatable if you're singing multiple songs, but I think Bell is probably because Bell makes sense with that effect because like you have something damaged, you do it, you move it, whereas this does not only rely on you having multiple songs in your hand, but also having multiple damage characters and multiple targets you want the damage to be moved to, right? Which I think is like a little bit tricky.
The Bell, a big part of the strength of Bell is like it hits you out of nowhere almost. You don't see it coming. Yes,
but you see this coming though. Yeah.
But this you definitely see coming. Also uninkable quest for 1.
Yeah.
It's a little bit difficult to see.
The next one we have is a Amethyst Song card, 1 cost, inkable. I'll let you read this out, Moin, but correct me if I'm mistaken. I think this card has something to do with milling, right? I think so.
So this is viel Glück zum Nicht-Geburtstag, which is good luck to your not birthday.
Yep.
And it's a 1 cost song that says all opponents.
All opponents.
It's just worded a little bit weird.
Yeah.
It says all opponents put the top 2 cards of the deck to the discard.
Yeah, so it's a mill card. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mill card. And we have a little bit more mill support. I think I've seen elsewhere. We have the brooms where you can kind of shuffle the brooms back into your deck.
Yeah. So you play the brooms so that you don't get milled. You play maybe you play Emerald Amethyst, so you make them discard 4 cards for the top of their deck if you sing it with the Ursula, maybe.
Yeah, so at least mill is getting more tools, which
but it's weird, right?
Because as long as it doesn't get playable.
Yeah, it's interesting because the only mill thing that we would probably see right now is a whole new world plus Amethyst rather than obviously, like I was saying, Emerald plus Amethyst. So I think Amethyst Steel is probably the deck that will be attempting to mill us. So beware, folks, beware.
The next card is also interesting.
Oh, is it? Okay. The next one's Mad Hatter's Teapot, 2 cost uninkable. Or sorry, 2 cost inkable item. Tap, pay 1 ink. Each opponent puts the top card of their deck into their discard. Wow, yeah, this is they're definitely going for some mill
another
stuff.
Another tool. It's a bit slow. Probably your opponent will be pushing for game while you're just setting all of this up. But
if you play a mill deck, you play this card. Like you just play this card. So
yeah, probably.
Next one we have is Pixie Dust. This is 4 cost and inkable item. You exert this, pay 2 ink. Chosen character gains Challenger +2 and Evasive until the start of your next turn. I think this is a bad card because I think it combines
incredibly expensive.
Yeah, I think it just combines 2 things that you don't really want to pair together. Like I think Challenger and Evasive are a bit weird unless Unless you're, this is a very weird situation, Wayne. Unless you're specifically trying to take down a TikTok on your opponent's side of the board,
Sure.
then
If you want to take down a TikTok, then you need evasive and challenger.
yeah. But besides that, I think it's a very niche circumstance. I don't know about what you
And
think.
it's incredibly expensive. It's the main use for this would be to give something evasive so it can quest.
Yeah.
And I'm not using a 4-cost uninkable item and paying 2 to do that.
Yeah, just play the 2-cost song that I played briefly in Ruby. What is it? You can fly. 2-cost inkable gives something evasive. Yeah. And next card we have is a location. 1-cost inkable.
Yeah, we've actually had a question about this card in our Discord.
But this card, what?
Yeah, this was like they really want to talk about Fairy Shop, and I think that's fine. It's just they probably missed the discourse we had like when locations came out, where we just said, these cards are kind of just.
It's like 0/4s, right? Yeah, they're like 0/4s.
It's just they can't get damaged by like character-based removal, but you wouldn't really play 1-cost 0/4s, even if they're immune to like character-based removal.
Yeah, next one we've got is Mystical Tree, 2-cost inkable, 7 willpower. Move a character here for 1. With 2 abilities, at the start of your turn, you may move 1 damage counter from chosen character here to chosen opposing character. And then at the start of your turn, if you have a character named Mama Odie here, gain 1 lore.
I don't think it's bad.
You don't think it's bad?
No, it's 7 willpower for 2 on an inkable location. Okay, it doesn't have immediate lore gain, right? Not immediate. It doesn't have this like
upkeep lore gain, right? Yeah.
But the occasion, like they can't really ignore it just based on the 1 damage moving.
But the character has to be damaged, right, for that to occur. And that's at the start. Yeah, that makes it worse. Yeah, that makes it a lot worse. I don't know. I'm gonna hold you.
I just like the Mama Odie, but
I'm gonna hold you, Moyen, to saying this card isn't bad. And the next set.
That's probably fair.
All right, guys. So it's getting quite late here for myself and Moyen, so we're gonna leave it at that, so the episode isn't massively long. But we'll try our best to cover the spoilers. Maybe we won't do it as in depth as we went this week, but that was still fun discussing a lot of the new cards. Next week, we're going to be focusing on, the prep for Seattle, the meta breakdown of this big event that's taking place this weekend. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed listening to this podcast, the number one thing you can do is leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It helps so much. There's a video version available over on youtube.com/@PodcanaPodcast. Hit the subscribe while you're there. And our Twitters are @Moyen_HS and @Kawatek_CG. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.